The Pittsburgh Steelers reveal their first initial depth chart for the 2022 NFL season, and it's already got Steeler Nation talking. Hello, Steeler Nation, and welcome to the latest episode of your Pittsburgh Steelers Syndicate with me, Britsburgh Owen, your UK Steelers view, your voice from across the pond, talking to you here in the UK all about all things black and gold. So yesterday, the Pittsburgh Steelers revealed their initial roster. It's a 90-man roster still. This roster could change vastly, given the fact that obviously when the 53-man cut down comes, they will have to be obviously more precise in where they place people. But this initial roster was completed yesterday because it's in line with NFL guidelines that it has to be done and submitted. So the Steelers did that. And we're going to take a quick look through that roster today on the Pittsburgh Steelers Syndicate and look at some of the talking points that have got Steeler Nation discussing where the Steelers are going this NFL season. So let's start on the offensive side of the ball. So you can see from this initial depth chart, this was taken from Jenna Hanna on Twitter. Thank you, Jenna. So the starting team would be like this if this roster went ahead today, with Deontay Johnson as wide receiver. Left tackle is Dan Moore Jr. Left guard, interestingly, is listed as Kevin Dotson or Kendrick Green. No definite decision made there yet still. Mason Cole is down at center. James Daniels at right guard. Chukwuma Okorafor at right tackle. Pat Freiermuth at tight end 1. Najee Harris, no surprise, at running back. Derek Watt listed at fullback. QB1 is listed as Mitch Trubisky. Wide receiver Chase Claypool and the wide receiver George Pickens. Obviously, the first talking point there on that is the left guard spot, where there is or between Kevin Dotson or Kendrick Green. They still obviously felt that at camp that both of them have something to prove if either of them are going to win that starting spot. It'll be interesting to see in the first preseason game against the Seattle Seahawks next Saturday who starts at left guard or if either of them play at left guard. And that'll be interesting to watch how they do and how they get on. It's also going to be interesting to watch practice over the next week as well to see how Dotson and Green are used. So that was the first talking point in Steeler Nation. So Steeler Nation, in the comments below, let me know, Dotson or Green, who do you want left guard? Put it down there. Obviously, the next talking point is around the wide receivers. The Steelers have an awful large number of wide receivers on their roster. And Deontay Johnson's first reserve is listed as Anthony Miller. Then Gunnar Olszewski with the third team. Calvin Austin is buried down on the fourth team and Tyler Snead on the fifth. Now, it's a surprise for many Steeler fans to see Austin listed that low, given how he's performed at practice. I think obviously this is just an initial depth chart. That's one thing we have to take this with a pinch of salt. And obviously Austin may well move up depending on his preseason performances. But obviously, as we know, these two guys here, George Pickens and Calvin Austin, have taken most of the wide receiver headlines at camp so far. But that may have something to do with the fact that Deontay Johnson has held in and has only just started practicing again after his new deal, which Mark did a fantastic video on yesterday. Go back and check that out if you haven't done it yet. And obviously, Chase Claypool has been injured, but he is now back and fully fit by all accounts. Mitch Trubisky is listed as QB1, Mason Rudolph as QB2, and Kenny Pickett as QB3, which is no doubt going to cause some consternation in Steeler Nation, particularly those who believe that Pickett should be the primary backup to Mitch Trubisky. But again, this is just an initial depth chart. Again, it needs to be taken with a pinch of salt, and I think that's the thing we need to keep hold of. Wide receiver positions, Cody White is listed as Chase Claypool's primary backup. Anthony Miller is listed again as the third backup, then Tyler Vaughns, and then the new signing, Javon McKinley. If we go to running back, Benny Snell Jr. is listed as backup, which will cause some anger amongst some of Steeler Nation, given the fact that many Steeler fans think that Benny Snell is not up to the job. Anthony McFarland, who's been having quite an impressive camp so far, is listed as third, with Jalen Warren at fourth, Matteo Durant at 5, and Master Teague down in the 6th place spot. Many feel that Jalen Warren could actually move up and onto the team, given the caliber of his performances recently. So that's the main talking points, obviously, from the offensive side of the ball. Now, from the defensive side of the ball, again, we have some options here. Now, obviously, if you look at the starting lineup, it's listed as Cam Hayward at defensive tackle, nose tackle Tyson Alualu, defensive end there, Larry Ogunjobi, who's yet to practice, but his recovery is going well. TJ Watt at left outside linebacker. Then at left inside linebacker, rather interestingly, Devin Bush or Robert Spillane. Now, Devin Bush is someone who has had some mixed reviews at practice. In backs on backers, he was particularly disappointing, according to all reports, even Benny Snell getting the better of him. However, when interviewed, TJ Watt actually listed Devin Bush as one of the people having a really good camp. So there's very, very much a split opinion on this. Terrell Austin, when he was interviewed the other day, stated that it would be either it'd be Bush and Jack to start, with Spillane still very much in the mix. But it's interesting to see on this initial depth chart that it's listed as Bush or Spillane. Miles Jack takes the right inside linebacker spot without a surprise, because he has been absolutely awesome this camp. Right outside linebacker is Alex Highsmith. Left cornerback is listed as Levi Wallace or Akella Witherspoon. So again, a little bit of indecision there as to who is that primary starting outside corner. Minka Fitzpatrick as free safety, strong safety Terrell Edmonds, and right side cornerback Cam Sutton. So Cam Sutton listed as the outside corner on his own. So the decision seems to be either Wallace or Witherspoon. Cam Sutton seems very much in the mix to get a starting place. Obviously, a lot depends upon what happens with that knee injury and how serious that knee injury that he sustained the other day is. We are still waiting to hear. Arthur Mollett is listed as the nickel corner, and apparently he is having himself quite a camp too. The backup defense behind the frontline defensive line is Loudermilk, Montravius Adams, who I believe will split a lot of snaps with Tyson Alualu, given Alualu's advanced years, and Chris Wormley. You then have behind those guys Khalil Davis and Henry Mondeau. You have Doug Costin ahead of Carlos Davis, rather surprisingly, and Donovan Jeter, and Chris Wormley ahead of DeMarvin Leal. DeMarvin Leal is felt, well, most of the nation think that he should be higher than Chris Wormley, given his performances. Jannard Avery is listed as the primary backup to TJ Watt. Jannard Avery, apparently, since he's come back from injury, has looked quite good. UG3 is listed as a backup to Robert Spillane, and then TD Moultrie, who was thought to be an outside linebacker, is obviously being used in the inside linebacker slot. Right inside linebacker backup to Miles Jack is listed as Marcus Allen, rather disappointingly, given the fact that Marcus Allen is pretty hopeless as a linebacker. Buddy Johnson is listed as third, and Mark Robinson on his own. The concern there has to be, obviously, that Buddy Johnson may well move up to be behind Miles Jack, as he is that linebacker unlike anything else the Steelers have got, more that buck linebacker that the Steelers have not had since Vince Williams. The fear has to be that if Mark Robinson is moved to the practice squad, that he may well be taken by another team. Behind Alex Highsmith are most of the outside linebackers. Derek Tushka as his primary backup, Delonte Scott listed rather interestingly ahead of Tuzar Skipper. Is this the end of the post-season MVP Tuzar Skipper? That's a question. Behind Akella Witherspoon is listed Chris Steele, who I'm very impressed with, the prospect out of USC, who's been having a good camp. I would love to see Chris Steele make the roster ahead of James Pierre and Justin Lane, who are listed behind Cam Sutton, particularly as Justin Lane, a third-round pick, is really failing to live up to his promise. Now, Minka Fitzpatrick's primary replacement whilst he's been injured has been DeMonte Kazee, but Kazee is listed as the backup strong safety behind Edmonds. The backup free safety is Trey Norwood, followed by Miles Killebrew, Donovan Steiner, and then Carlins Patel. Carl Joseph and Lyndon Stevens are listed behind DeMonte Kazee. So, an interesting first take from the Pittsburgh Steelers on their roster. What's interesting, obviously, is the fact that Miles Jack is listed on his own, but that is to be he will be, I think, the backer who will stay on the pitch for all three downs and may well have the green dot, given the caliber of his performances. It's great to have this man back as well, obviously listed as the primary free safety, and he is now back and fit. He's been taken off the non-football related injury list. Minka Fitzpatrick will be back and practicing. So, guys, let me know what you think of this initial roster in the comments below. Who would you have starting at the outside cornerback position? Would it be Witherspoon? Would it be Wallace? Would it be Sutton? Who would be your two that you choose? Let me know in the comments below, guys. And any other comments you've got about this initial roster, let me know in the comments and let me know what your opinions are. I'd love to hear from you. And remember, guys, if you love the content, hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, come and join the Pittsburgh Steelers Syndicate, the best new channel out there for all your Steelers news and needs. Your one-stop shop, guys. This is where you should be coming for all your Steelers news. Thanks for listening, guys. And we'll finish this as we always do with, here we go, Steelers. Come on.